going on, and thank you, Ms. Savoy Hawker. She just does such a great job in the marketplace. And you know, for our guest out tonight, learning a little bit more about prepaid legal services, you come to a business meeting. We just have way too much fun to call this thing a business meeting. But anyway, hopefully you guys will enjoy what we're going to do tonight and share with you the information. And a little bit more about my background. My background is I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I was in private practice, and I had watched my family. I've got a lot of brothers in prepaid legal, and I had watched them earn about $1 million in prepaid legal at the same time I was in practice. And it wasn't about just the money that they were making. It was they had the freedom to spend the money and spend it with their family. And so anyway, me and my wife started putting together an exit strategy because we wanted to. We wanted that lifestyle. We wanted to be able to do that. I love chiropractic, and I saw some amazing stories in chiropractic, amazing experiences that in my practice. But here's what I love more: my 3 little girls and my wife. And if they can provide an opportunity in prepaid legal for me to be able to spend more time with them, I was all over it. And so that's what my family had already acquired in a relatively short period of time in prepaid legal. So my job today is just be a messenger and just be able to share with you just a little bit what's going on in prepaid legal. Is that okay? And I'll tell you a real interesting story about how we got introduced to prepaid legal. There was my brother, he came over to my house, and I remember he called me, and it was a random phone call. Because this is a brother that was kind of like an introvert in our family. He's kind of a recluse. I mean, nobody ever talked to him, you know. And all. I mean, usually when we talked to him, it was Thanksgiving or Christmas, and it was usually the only thing that came out of his mouth was, "Hey, pass the turkey" or something, you know. But anyway, he called me up and he says, "Hey, I got something I want to show you. It's only going to take about 15 minutes of your time, and you may or may not be interested, but get your brothers Chris and Dave over there too." And so I said, okay. So we wind up having him come over, and he said he had something to show us. So he wound up showing us this video about prepaid legal. I had never heard of the company before, never heard of the concept before. And when I saw this 15-minute video, I looked at my brother Jeff, I looked at my other brothers, Dave and Chris, and I just said, this sounds incredible. I was like, how do they pay attorneys this much money? What kind of attorneys do you get? You know, how do you pay these marketing associates this much money and still be in business? And my brother Jeff didn't know the answer to any of our questions, but he was really smart because he introduced us to an individual that answered our questions. And so we wind up coming out to an event just like this. After seeing the video, saw the presentation, got our questions answered, and we wind up, you know, the rest is history. So what I want to do with you tonight is just be able to share with you some facts on what's going on with prepaid legal services. Today's just for information. It's for our guests to be able to learn a little bit more about why all these associates that are here tonight and in prepaid legal, why we're so darn jazzed about this new hope, this new opportunity in prepaid legal services in our lives. And so the first thing I want to be able to talk about today is 5 areas in business. And now these 5 areas that we're going to talk about: the company, the need, the marketplace, the product, the compensation, and timing. Are these important areas to evaluate? Yeah, they're real important. I mean, you know, you got to make sure it's going to be a solid company. Well, let's talk about the company. If the company's been in business for over 38 years, haven't we paid the test of time? Yeah. Most certainly we have. And you know, and if you want to know what consumers think about us, you know, look at the Better Business Bureau. We don't have an A listing, we have an A+ listing. Doesn't get any better than that, right? Well, yeah. I mean, it's just great. And you know, as a publicly traded company on the largest exchange in the world, the New York Stock Exchange, we most certainly are public to the world, and anybody can view all of our information. Well, here's some financial and business journals and magazines that have looked into us. And how many of you guys have heard of Steve Forbes before in his magazine, Forbes Magazine? All right, great magazine. He most certainly has built a reputation on producing correct information to business owners so that they can know who to invest in and who's doing well and who's doing bad. And what they do is they go through thousands of companies and with a fine-tooth comb to be able to analyze them. And this issue right here happens to be the top 200 small cap companies in business. Now notice I said small cap companies. Now that's about $600 million annually. That's a pretty dang big company. But out of that list, we made it as a top 200 on this particular issue, which is the last issue he did it, was number 666. Best company on that list. But what's great is on that same issue, out of all the other categories they're looking at, out of when companies are doing bad during a recession, our company was the #1 company on return on equity. I mean, well, what's great right now is I understand on the current newsstand, I haven't got my hands on the most recent Forbes magazine, but they rated the best 100 companies. Now, I didn't say small cap, did I? the best 100 companies, and we made it on Steve Forbes' list. So the accolades that we're getting in prepaid legal are absolutely incredible. You know what's great is that you don't need to research prepaid legal. You can just simply research the researchers like Steve Forbes. And so it makes it really easy to find out what's going on with the company. And here's what they look at. The people on Wall Street, they're analyzing numbers. They want to look at trends. They want to know, how big the need is and are we fulfilling the need with our service. And so they see these type of numbers, like our sales history. This is whenever, they were doing about $25 million in sales, and they wind up going all the way up just under $500 million last year. And so so many people on Wall Street are saying that we're going to be a $500 million or a $1 billion company in the next handful of years. I don't know how many of you guys want to go on a $500 million joyride, but that's what we're about to join on prepaid legal. So anyway, it's absolutely amazing to be able to watch this growth, and it comes down to the need and what we provide. It's a huge need. We're 3 times more likely to wind up in court than we are in the hospital, except nobody really had anything prior to prepaid legal services. And how big is this need? Well, 80% of the country is locked out of this country club called legal or the justice system, and if you can't afford $200 to $300 an hour, it's just cheaper to get ripped off and taken advantage of than it is to call an attorney. Isn't that true? Yeah. I mean, how many of you guys have ever been in that situation where you knew that you were in the right, but because you didn't have an attorney, you couldn't really do anything about it? I remember, I most certainly remember several issues that happened to me that when I heard about prepaid legal, now here's the thing, I'd heard about prepaid legal when I was 27 years of age. And I've never used an attorney in my life up to the age of 27. And when I first heard about prepaid legal, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, that would help me with this, and this, and this, and this. And that's what you're going to start to realize after tonight, especially our guest, is how many times you could have used prepaid legal if you didn't have to pay the money. It's a paradigm shift that we've got going on in America, and that's the reason why there's so many great things that are going on. Success Magazine says this is the wave of the entire the legal industry for 80% of Americans, and they're looking at the prepaid legal industry, and they're estimated between a $15 to $25 billion market. Folks, we created this market. So when you create the market, you dominate the market, it really poises for a massive opportunity to be able to build a business. Whether we want to do it on a part-time basis, spare time, maybe full-time, but we have an opportunity to be able to partner up with this amazing company to be able to do this and protect people that normally wouldn't have this protection. Well, why do most people don't call an attorney? Well, they're intimidated, they don't know who to call, or they believe it's going to cost too much, or they know it's going to cost too much. How many of you guys know a lot of times it's going to cost too much, right? And what do? If they don't have an attorney, they try to handle it personally or just ignore the problem. And that usually doesn't help out very well. And then, so what do we do with a prepaid legal plan? Well, simply put, prepaid legal does to attorney bills what major medical would do to doctor and hospital bills. Does that make sense? So that's pretty simple to understand. Who's covered under the plan? The whole entire family is covered underneath the plan, up to the age of 23, as long as they're full-time in college and still, and never married. And so the whole family's covered underneath the same price, which is significant and important because we don't raise the rates when you add on dependents. What happens whenever you add on dependents on your auto insurance? Does your rates go up or down? They go up, right? And prepaid legal services is a fixed rate. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our services, our flagship plan that we have in prepaid legal services. Is that all right? Yeah. Let's talk about the benefits. And I want you to think about this real quick. One of the things that we give you access to is one of the largest law firms in the state. So you can be able to pick up a law firm, the highest rated law firm that you can get. You couldn't get a better group of attorneys if you're a multimillionaire. That's the type of attorneys that we use in prepaid legal. Now, when I heard about the price, I thought, how does that even, that's impossible. How can you do that? And prepaid legal has been able to put together this network of some of the finest law firms that money can buy, coast to coast. So not only now do you have access to an attorney that specializes in any area of law, but you have attorneys that specialize in all 50 states. So everybody knows an attorney, right? I mean, I know an attorney. I went to high school with an attorney, wound up going into corporate law. And I remember anytime I had a legal advice, I knew this guy. We were really good friends. But I'll tell you what, when we hung out at church, I paced him all the way down the hallway. Hey, so what about this? What about this? What about this? I was picking his brain because I didn't want to pay $200 an hour to be able to talk to an attorney. Now, there's a lot of times he would tell me, that's not my specialty. I don't know really a lot about that. You should get an attorney that does this. And I'm just like going, nah, that's all right. Your advice is just fine. And then that's what usually we do, right? We'll just accept that information and say, good enough. An attorney told me it must be right? And so, but nothing changes whenever you have prepaid legal. All of a sudden now you can pick up the attorney and speak to an attorney anytime you want and not have to pay